Okay, so on today's episode of RBW Auto, we are putting the cluster, well, getting the cluster ready to put in. So we already took out the ignition switch. And then when we go to start putting it all back together, I still got to drill the holes and stuff to put the ignition switch back in and the windshield wiper and headlight switch. So when we go back to doing that, I'll show you how to take it apart and how to pull the tumbler out of the ignition switch. You don't know how. You put the key in, you turn it to the accessory side, and there's a little hole. You put a paper clip in, then you pull it out. But if your key's old or not the key is old, but the ignition switch is old and been tampered with and whatever, it might not come out real easy. I'd use a pick and kind of pull on it with the key and stuff. And it was a lot. It was, to get it out, it took 30 minutes just to get the tumbler out. But besides for that, so went by, and then on the back of the gauge cluster of the old one, it shows where all the bulbs go and stuff like that, so you can't really mess it up. So when you go to put in your new cluster and go to wire it up, basically everything that's got two wires, obviously one's going to be ground and then the other one's going to be positive. But also on the back of the original cluster, the whole thing was grounded off on the body of the car. So just like the gray wires, those are just the bulbs. And then when you put the bulb and the clip into the cluster on the back, it will ground itself off because there's a grounding strap that runs on the cluster. So, and then the other thing is, because the gauge is so big inside the dash, you actually you got to cut part of the hump that holds the bezel in there. So, I'm trying to do this one-handed. So this hump right here, I had to cut out, but now it kind of makes it flimsy. So what we're gonna end up doing is we'll make some braces coming back from here and weld it. We'll have to weld something or sheet metal screw something together here, from here to here, and then from here to here. I'll probably just weld something up real quick. Because so this is just a hot wire for the bulbs. This is the turn signal switch, and then the switch gets grounded on the ground straps of the thing. So, so for this, you might actually have to probably gonna have to run a ground strap to it somewhere, because it gets a hot side to it to turn it on and off, but then it gets grounded by the actual back of the bezel. So, there's going to be some things we're going to have to do. That won't be no big deal. We'll figure something out. But so like this here, this was a fuel gauge thing. So the brown wires, the signal, and then, the black and pink is the ground. This is all positive, gets grounded off the gauge, turn signal, and then because everything else gets grounded off the chassis, so that's why some of these things only have one wire. This is either going to be temp sensor. So one's going to be coolant temp, one's going to be oil temp, and then one is going to be, and this is another hot one for just the illumination, and then there should be another one for, this here should be for the generator, to let you know that your car is charging. But I set my car up for single wire alternator, so there is no, once the thing, all it's got to do is spin and then it's charging. So there's no excite wire, there's none of that. So the generator wire is just that's something I just left in here for the dash. But that's supposed to let you know when you pull your headlights on and stuff like that, that there's, obviously you have something on. So, so maybe, I don't know, we might have to change that too. So there's some things that we're going through here right now that are, obviously we're gonna have to ground some stuff, and then also go over some things that, that for the generator wire and this and that. You know, if you want some of that stuff to keep working. I mean, otherwise, I mean, I guess you don't really need to. You know what I mean? But you know, might as well. You know, because normally what I do, because when my so I got a thing set up on here. There's a low voltage adapter thing that I got on here. So when the car goes below 11.5 volts or something, it illuminates a light on the dash. So I'm going to be putting that back in. And I bought just a marker light, LED marker light for a trailer. It's like this big, you know. I just drilled a hole, put it in there, and then just hooked it up to, you know, ran one wire to ground and the hot wire to the box. I got that off of Speedway, and then, you know, that lets me know if the alternator is not charging. That's why I did that, because, you know, I didn't have a volt gauge in here at the time, but we will now with the new gauges and stuff. So next we're gonna start hooking that stuff up. But let me put some of this stuff back in here. I'll lay the wire, lay the dash back in here so you guys can see it. It actually looks pretty good. So all right, I'll be right back.